Hello, welcome everybody. First of all, agenda item 1, apologies. I don't believe there are any.
None received.
Okay, item 2 is late items to be used by the chair. I don't believe there are any late items today.
Okay.
Declarations of interest is item 3. Again, I don't have any. If anyone else has any. No. Okay. Item 4 is minutes of the meeting held on 28th of August. Seems a while ago. Are they to be noted? Okay. Okay, item 5. I'm not quite sure which officer is going to introduce this, but I'll defer to whoever it is.
Would you like me to set the scene for the scheme, Councillor Holmes?
Yes, please.
Okay, so Derby Enterprise Growth Fund, or fondly known as DGF, was formed in 2013 and it had a £20 million budget to support SMEs in Derby City and the travel to work area in the form of grants or loans. And the key output of the scheme was job creation. In 2016, we applied for and won a top-up to this fund through ERDF, and this was in partnership with Derbyshire County Council. Hence why it's been opened up county-wide now, because the two applications that we're seeing are from Chesterfield and Alfreton. So both applications have gone through a 2-tier application process and have been recommended to support by the DGF investment panel. Because of the values of these grants that have been recommended, we're seeking Cabinet member approval as per the Council's delegated authority. And these grants have been recommended for support subject to due diligence, which means that the businesses or the project will be scrutinised further to ensure compliance with scheme and state aid rules, as well as project viability, etc. So, Steve, shall I hand over to you to talk about item A, item 5 even?
Thank you, Jane. Yeah, so you'll notice from the sort of brief on the paper there, we've got the item 5 relates to a grant of 130,000 that's been recommended by our investment panel from the D2N2 GIP2 capital budget, which is the scheme that Jane's just summarised. And as she's already noted, that was in terms of our current terms of reference were approved at Cabinet back in September 2018. And then because of the value, as Jane's mentioned, it needs to come to Cabinet member for approval before we can issue an offer letter and subsequently move to due diligence and then ultimately contracting.
No problem. So
yeah.
I have no problem in principle with this one. I just wanted to query, once that work has been done, is it me that you report back to so that we can have that assurance agreed? Or what's the pathway once we agree if I agree the recommendation that's in the agenda at the moment? How does the due diligence sort of be considered, and when will that come back to me if it does?
So what would happen with the due? So after the offer letter has been issued, ultimately then we'd move to the due diligence, which has already been mentioned, and that would produce a recommendation. So that could be a straightforward approval with no extra conditions, or it could approve a variety of things, and ultimately the due diligence could recommend we decline a project. But typically that due diligence would come back to the DGF officers, so myself, Jane, and our head of service, Gareth O'Donovan, would review that, noting any extra conditions that it may attach to contracting, etc. But generally the due diligence side would be dealt with within by the DGF officers.
Okay, so it doesn't need to come back to another one of these meetings then, is it? What I'm asking.
No.
Okay, no problem. Well, is there any questions? Not quite sure who else is on the call, actually. If there's any, Councillor Peatfield is, so I don't know if anyone. Yep.
It's just myself, Councillor Peatfield, but I haven't had sight of the papers, I'm afraid, so I can't really ask a question. I don't know much about it.
So the officers have given a fairly accurate, an accurate overview of what the paper says, and the recommendations, just so you can see them or hear them. to approve in principle that a grant of £130,000 from GIP2 capital funds, subject to the confirmation of satisfactory due diligence outcome and state aid position. So I'm happy to agree that, and the officers explained what the due diligence will be, and obviously clarification on the state aid position as well moving forward. Okay, so if there's no other questions, then I'm happy to proceed.
So in terms of item 6, it's exactly the same principle. So it's coming from the same fund and same process as already has been described. And the only difference of this one is it's for a grant for 200,000 from the same D2N2 Growth and Innovation Programme capital budget. Again, following the same previous terms of reference for DGF from the September 18 Cabinet paper. So seeking approval for the £200,000 grant, ultimately to receive a delegated authority and proceed to due diligence and contracting.
Yeah, so the item 6 is almost identical to 5. The difference is obviously the amount of money. So all the things that we've just said apply as well. And if there aren't any questions on that, then I'm happy to proceed also on item 6. Right, so let me just go back to the agenda. Item now, there we go. Item 7 is the exclusion of press and public, which is where I have to say the following. That under section 100A of the Local Government Act 1972, the press and the public be excluded from the meeting during discussion of the following items on grounds that they involved or are likely to disclose of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act, and that the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. Is that okay?
Okay, if you just bear with us a second, we'll make sure the broadcast has ended. Dom?